of the universe, 400 men and women are probing the immeasurable blackness of space. Their leaders are an Earthman with no fear and a stranger with no heart. Travel beyond our time and solar system, into new galaxies, into worlds beyond your dreams. Star Trek, every week, in color.
You heard the man, every week in color. Not some weeks in color or every week in black and white, but every week in color. And what a color. Full Technicolor. The kind you've come to expect. Welcome back. It's Tuesday, July 25th, 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time. We're here to talk about Star Trek, so let's bring in the guys who know the most about that, because it ain't this dude. So let's bring him in right now. Captain of Fun, Captain Fun, fresh from San Diego.
What's up, Dan?
Dr. Johnny Price, PhD, fresh from hell, the depths of hell. You're a teacher, right? So that's appropriate.
Fresh from
the Starfleet Academy men's room. In beautiful downtown Burbank.
Well, welcome back, boys. It's been a couple weeks since we all connected.
Yes.
Last week it was solo Dantron.
Solo Dantron. That was.
Let me say our numbers, like way more views than usual.
Really?
In the previous week. But like watch time, so much smaller than like average watch time, so minuscule. So
that's funny.
You guys got nothing to worry about as far as me taking this over as a solo thing.
You can count me for 3 clicks on that, because I checked in from the floor of San Diego, the very successful pop culture thing we were at. I looked and I was like, oh, it's just Dan. And then I had to do something. And about 10 minutes later, I'm like, I wonder if John showed up or not. It was like, Dan's talking, but I literally had like 3 seconds. So I'm like, maybe, I don't know. So I checked a third time and I was like, I'll just ask him when I talk to him on Tuesday.
You're ruining the metrics, man. You're killing those metrics.
I went off on every tangent you guys would probably hate. I don't know. And other weird stuff about like the logic, emotion, connection, and Mr. Spock. And I bared my soul just a little bit, guys. Let me say.
Yeah.
Won't happen again.
That's what this show is for. It's about bearing our souls.
It's about the friends we make along the way.
It's about how hilarious it was that Boimler was also off-put by smiling Spock.
Oh, wait. Are we just jumping in, or can we talk about this?
We can talk about whatever you want.
We can talk about this jacket thing. We have like cool business to do, man.
Yeah. Well, fresh out of San Diego, Captain Fun, show off your threads and tell us what you're sporting here.
Well, this is my old jacket. I did get a Avengers the USS Avenger is the NX-09. And I went to the Academy with Captain Shran, so he just gave me one of these hats. It's as close as he thinks it's funny that like his ship was commissioned before mine. And but while I was gone, big show, friend of the show, Brian Shaneman did his jacket for the Columbia. And it's not, okay, that's fine. Chris Sagasek, Starfleet Command uniform guy is going to get after you. Now, Chris Sagasek did his, the Excalibur. Mm-hmm. And come on.
Oh, no, wait. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm not ready for that,
man.
Larry. I'm sorry. I'm not ready with the pictures.
All right. It doesn't,
Let me get those ready, though. I'm sorry.
Why doesn't John just show his? See, I did an Exeter patch. John did Kitty Hawk patch.
The Kitty Hawk.
Come on, isn't that cool?
Right? That's an awesome.
I'm pretty sure
right
Chris
there.
did an Excalibur, and then Big Show just bought one of those, pre-processed sci-fi patches and geeks pin places thing. The sewing circle. Yeah. But speaking of San Diego and the series Star Trek Sewing Circle, I was able to. Some guy was walking by with the Kozermart green Strange New Worlds jacket. I'm like, hey man, like, you got a second? I know what that is. It's Kozermart jacket, And he's like, oh yeah, and he comes over And that guy came flying over because he wanted to tell his tale of woe about all this giant email that he sent to those guys, telling them how they can. There I am wearing my Enterprise shirt and Captain Fun full gear. On the Strange New Worlds had a little a booth there, and they had this thing you could walk in. Oh, that's the little one that I sent by accident. I sent 2 thumbnails by accident, and then the next one I sent the big ones. But there's Chris Sagasag, there's Big Show.
Oh, I think I can get the big ones. Don't worry, I'll get there. Still,
anyway,
this
that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that's on a full jumpsuit. So Big Show like went the whole way and got the whole deal.
Big Show and I have the same problem. We're both very tall, so these are really awesome jackets, but they come to about my belly button.
Oh,
so this is going to be a little risque here. We got
he's going up. John Price is going to stand up.
We're going up. So I got my my Kitty Hawk thing here, right? And
yeah,
I got
that
this
looks
awesome good. Black. How did this work? Black Delta over here. And then this is an awesome little patch I found on the Etsy's, Starfleet Academy, Washington, D.C., which, of course, is true to life. And then this guy, this is actually an Axonar from the Axonar Kickstarter, the little First Fleet little symbol there. And then you got USPA, of course. So
I love that Axonar patch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That was the one them, like I couldn't identify.
Like Vulcan theme.
Yeah, I couldn't identify that one. I'm like, oh, Price is rocking
great.
Out something cool and obscure. That makes sense.
Is it me or has custom patch technology?
Yeah. And those are. I got this on
Quantum
eBay,
Leap.
Like,
For once, it was me not interrupting everybody.
Sorry, guys. No, we're getting lag here. We're getting audio lag. Sorry.
No, well, Dan said that patch technology has improved, and it really has. Etsy, in the old days, if I wanted a patch, minimum order's 50, so I'd have to pay like $300 for the one I wanted, and hope that I could sell the rest of them to other people who would care.
Plus, design it.
Yeah, that doesn't. I can do that without thinking. But it's cool. I take all those extra patches to San Diego and give them out to people. Holy God, did everybody love my Shield book? That was quite. I always joke like, hey, you go to a show and they buy their stuff and you accept the thanks of a grateful nation. I always say that like as a joke because it's like maybe a couple hundred people come by and they were really into it and that's cool, but like. It really felt that way this time. The entire nation was coming by. Like people are giving me shit about Brad Moss on MSNBC. I was like, wow, that was cool.
Well, 2 questions, Larry. How much was the did you charge for the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the show?
Okay, $20.
And that's autographed.
Yeah, I don't charge for autographs.
Yes.
That's ridiculous. And I have a judgment about the big shots who do that.
Are you comfortable with giving out numbers? How'd you do?
Oh, yeah, because, of course, because there's no stakes, right? This was just, I developed this pattern where I was like, the internet initially stole all their information from books and put it up on the internet. Correct. I actually took the stuff I wrote on the internet and made it into a book. And no shit, that was like the selling point for like 3 or 4 people. They were like, that's fucking hilarious. So I don't even know if I care about this. I was mildly interested. But now that you used all this, 15th century technology to produce this 22nd century technology thing. I don't know. It was funny. But I did the initial thing was a print run of 50 and I have 3 left. So some of that was pre-sales off the internet before for people I knew weren't coming. A couple were like takeaways to contributors like Eric Palicki and his mom got a couple. But I have 3 left. So that's fucking fantastic. As long as we pay the printing bill on the first bit of sales, that's like a thing from the old days. You make your money on Wednesday and everything else is good. I was like, if I pay the printing bill on the initial sales, I'm fine, and that happened. So
and now is it a print on demand thing or is it a thing where you?
No, I mean I'll do them like 25 or 50 at a time. There's no price break when you do short run stuff like that, because it's like the difference between turning the off button on the printing press is this and this,
Yeah,
so there's no gain. So, but Walker, man, Walker sold 67. He had a print run of 100, and that's what he sold at the show. So that was
awesome.
crazy. But our friends Linda Jackson, Tom Mason from Geeksville podcast posted on their Twitter, said, "Hey, go to booth 2001, see Walker Young's thing. This is great." So he had like 10 or 12 sales just from that.
I dare say the sales from that are close to like it would cost to pay for like a third of your booth. I don't know what's a booth cost in San Diego now, Larry.
Well, I forget the breakdown, but ours is an end cap booth, right?
Okay.
So there's a little more juice to it.
Premium.
Yeah, that's $7,000.
7.
Yeah. And just to give you a perspective, in 1995, I had a half of a table in Artist Alley, and that was $60. So that's the difference between 1995 and now.
Well, and do they still have Artist Alley even now?
They do. It's much bigger, but there's Artist Alley, but all the stuff that used to be Artist Alley, small press, and independent guys, which was all kind of like one part, and then the rest was, the big five for comics. Now, small press, the independent pavilion, and Artist Alley are 3 distinct areas. And Artist Alley is even juried because there's so many people that want those tables that they actually have to pick who they're going to allow that year. And boy, if I was at that level, I would get really mad about that.
Yeah, totally. Well, and how was it? How did it feel to be there for the very last Comic-Con now that Hollywood is about to collapse and has pulled out the tent pole out of the big tent that is Comic-Con, right? This is nice. Next year it's going to be a wasteland from what I understand.
Well, I know tons of people that work in entertainment, and they all stopped by and it didn't come up. Everybody, for real, everybody was talking about how fucking awesome it was to be on the floor at the show. That I don't really have an answer to that question, because my experience was it was a fucking blast from beginning to end. Like, you've been there. There's some long days, right? But it's
not fun. I tell people Comic-Con's not fun. Don't go there to have fun. I mean, it is fun, but it's more fun than one person is meant to have in a weekend. So it's completely exhausting by the time you're
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you have to operate. Everybody there is operating under a different context. You know what I mean? Like, I can go there, and that's my job for a week. My job is to be used car salesman Larry Young, right? Like, how you doing? I'm
you were born to play.
Rush committee chairman. Damn glad to meet you. And I lose my voice around Saturday because I'm not used to talking to that many people for that long. Like, I usually get, you're supposed to get 10,000 steps, a day for walking around. I'm gonna be honest. Like, if I crack 7 during a usual day, that's great for me, right? I do 10, but it's not my average is probably 7. My average for those 5 days was 32,000 steps a day.
Nice.
So
stepping it up
by Sunday. My feet aren't used to that though, man. I'm 60 years old. That's not. By Sunday, I was like, "Hey, can I get one of those ADA wheelchairs over here?"
You probably could have,
because I'm an exhibitor. But so it is fun. It's just you got to know what you're doing. It's like you have to train like you're going up, Mount Everest. And so then climbing up Mount Everest is fun. And when you see the frozen guy in the red jacket, you have to turn left and I got my badge. I know where I'm going. But if you don't keep your eye on everything for under the context what you're doing, right, you're going to miss a panel. You're going to, you might get heat stroke because you forgot to eat and you stayed in line too long. Or, as long as you keep your eye on the ball, that fucking place is a blast.
Yeah.
That was definitely the best show in like 15 years for
awesome.
us.
Well, was it the best show because there was no
but see, that's
Hollywood?
I don't know. I mean, that's the quick thing. That's the clickbait headline. I think it's like everything. It's subtle and nuanced, right. But I think it's because those guys were were gone, everybody else kind of relaxed because Hollywood brings its own tension of like, oh, here's some guy in a, you know, I don't know, Ghostbuster costume, but he's got 15 security guards around him. That's obviously somebody famous. And that kind of like chills the aisle for a while because so stuff like that where, you know, like, oh, we're supposed to get all excited. That was just gone. Like Jamie Lee Curtis was there and she was able to do it because she was promoting a book or novel that she had written. And so, but she was
a graphic novel.
Was it a graphic novel? I didn't know because, and even then she was like 7 booths away from us. I could see her, but like she's just chilling behind the booth like everybody, right? But you can't really get over there because, you know, there's a giant guy dressed like in this cardboard, you know, Iron Man costume, and he's got his kid by the hand, but he's on stilts, and nobody really figures it out that there's gonna, you know, you can't really do that, but then everybody else is like really excited because it's like, wow, that's bold. It's just stuff like that happens by your eyesight the entire time you're awake. It's
okay,
like,
so
oh my, there's some girl with, you know, she's not wearing any clothes. Holy shit, can you get away with that? And like, here's 5 firefighters. What is that for? You know, their eyes are blinking LEDs. Just stuff like whatever you can think of is in your face. And it's cool. It's fun. But you got to know what you're doing, right? You can't just take the mushrooms and go, this is going to be a good trip, right? No, you have to know. You have to.
Brian Shaneman, Big Show, wants to know, was there a drop in the number of pro cosplayers? Speaking of which, Brian Shaneman flaked on me last minute. He was going to be my co-host. And that's why I had to foist the solo Dantron show on the world.
Throw up that picture of him because I want to give him shit about his. No. All right, never mind. I can still give him shit about his little store-bought Columbia patch. It's not. You didn't do that, Brian.
He definitely didn't do this, but I thought the one he got looked nice.
It's a good patch. Solid. It's a B+ patch.
Solid B+.
It's not honors from the Academy.
No. It's not. It's not getting it from that Etsy shop with the really hot chick in the profile picture. No, it's definitely not that.
There weren't. Yeah, the pro cosplayer thing, I don't really follow because, you know, like what's the difference between a pro cosplayer and somebody? I mean, I don't know who they paid to show up, but that entire place, like 1 out of 3 people had like a good outfit on, like, and just the most random stuff. There were 3 guys dressed like the white bubble-headed guys from Spaceballs, just kind of walking around. That's just like there he is.
Sorry, better late than never. Sorry.
Is that the official one from the show?
He's right. He's right.
Is he?
Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever.
God bless him.
One of the things that really
I love how you dismiss it. Whatever, Brian. We've moved on.
Really kind of surprising, and I guess it shouldn't have been, but when we went to GalaxyCon was how many people think it's okay to wear a costume that is like 4 times the size of their actual body. And it's like, dude, no, like, you know, or like huge anime swords.
Oh, I see.
That are 10 feet long. It's like, dude, we got to walk through this aisle. Like, what?
It's great that you're a 1-to-1 Optimus Prime cosplayer, but
right.
There's ADA guidelines here.
Cardboard box around your face. Like, get the out of the way, man.
Can I tell you, even that's the first con you've been to, and I've been to uncounted. Can I tell you, that is the same at every single con? I've never seen anybody pull it off except for this show. So this is maybe why this is the best show ever. Because I saw a girl dressed as Hera from the Thor movies, you know?
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett. And she's got the full-on Kirby crown, right?
Oh, hella.
This girl was stunning, okay? So, like, everybody is looking at different parts of how good her costume is. But she's sashaying down the aisle, holding the outside points with her hand. And I was like, that's the way to do it. You've got the giant anime horns, right? But at least do this, right? Looking like you do. And it's safety and practical, and everyone's entertained. And I was like, that's fucking great. Anyway, the nation thanks you.
Well, Okay, well, speaking of the best show in many years, do we want to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds at all? Or Larry, do you have a show highlight? Any show highlights you haven't talked about yet?
No, nothing Star Trek related other than just that picture of me that you flashed in the beginning sitting at the Strange New World thing. It was really funny because we're vendors. We can go in whenever we want. It's not a God pass, but it's definitely like a 12 apostle pass. You know, we know Jesus. Jesus gave us these, so we're gonna just walk in. And so Walker on Sunday, the last day, I didn't dress up like that the whole time. I geared up, and Walker and I walked in like an hour and a half before the show officially begins. So there's people there, but they're all vendors, right? And the two guys watching there was like, hey man, I showed them the badge. They're like, yeah. I'm like, do you guys care if we just walk around and sit down? They're like, get like a really good shot. They're like, no. And so I said to the first guy, hey, so are you Walker and I saw the Lower Decks episode, like watching on his iPad. And I said, hey, that Lower Decks crossover thing was really, and before I like even finished the sentence, I see his face like doesn't change. So like if you don't hear the Lower Decks crossover standing at the Star Trek thing and not fucking pop boner, you don't care. So I just stopped and I'm like, okay, you guys are just working, you don't give a shit, right? And then I got a big laugh. No, we don't care. So then so I sat down, got a good pick. I got my pick of my kid in there. The little 11-year-old that watched Star Trek on a black and white TV, WPIX out of New York City, was just so fucking happy. And even the old man was like, hey, bucket list cross off for the 11-year-old. Still lives in there. Fucking Star Trek, baby. It was really cool. I liked it.
Can we I watched the Uhura episode too, but I tried to watch it several times and fell asleep both times. Yeah. I didn't want to blame the episode because I do that a lot. But Price kind of confirmed it wasn't that great.
You can blame the episode.
What did you think, Larry?
We can skip it for talking about it because I literally figured it out when they did the setup before the credits. Oh, the sound that they did is obviously they're trying to talk to somebody and they got, something and they sucked up the stuff and something lives in there and they're going to figure it out. It was story beats like every fucking Star Trek ever. So
every Star Trek has done that episode.
So, and then they kind of did it with Lower Decks, right? It's like, oh, we found this thing that can do that. Oh, somebody figured it out. Hey, it's the tank from the Enterprise. Oh, it's this other thing that, whatever. I did like the one thing I did like that Kirk and Spock meeting for the first time was through George, and it was no big deal. And it was just that. No, I love that. I loved it. Nope, you're wrong, John. Because you want it to be something historic. No, it's like, hey, why don't you join us here? We're capping on my brother. And the horrors there. I love that. I thought that was great.
Okay. All right. So we could talk about let's talk about the Lower Decks. I watched it just this morning. I'm fresh.
We've seen it 3 times in our family.
I
was in San Diego.
I'm going to nickname it the Spock Who Laughs. And that don't even make sense if you know current Batman stuff, which is, I don't know, the Batman Who Laughs. Is
don't
really,
call it that because nobody will get it.
It's really lame. It's really lame anyway, but that's the best I could do. I'm sorry. Yeah, we should talk about this episode, but we should also just talk about meta episode. Like how many time traveling episodes are they going to do? And timeline altering episodes. It just feels like a lot in one season.
Well, for 10 episodes, it's a lot.
I'm an old man, right? And I'm always trying to achieve clarity. So I'm always thinking, what's the why? What context are we watching under? Any kind of quibble anybody has about this episode is wrong. You're just, when you start talking about it's you're wrong. You are not engaging with this episode on its own context, which is let's have a bunch of fucking Star Trek fun.
Yes.
So if you want to quibble, that's great. Dr. Price's philosophy class is down the hall.
Okay, I agree.
This show was amazing.
The only quibble I have is, of course, the glaringness of it's just so glaring that it's like, well, if they had just locked them in a room, which is probably what you would do with time travelers, then we have no episode and there's nothing there to write. And so who wants to see that, right? Like, that's the only quibble is like, how would you even, you got guys from the future, you just put them in a room and they don't get to talk to anybody.
So? Did you Boimler and Mariner in this? Like, what's the matter with these people? Oh my god!
Well, just from a Star Trek
we're
logical, from a
think he's paying
logical Star
attention.
Trek, it didn't make that much sense. But in order to facilitate the shenanigans, then of course you had to do it that way.
So, if I may interject,
Please, sober note.
I hate Strange New Worlds as a show. This was the best episode. This was the best episode of Strange New Worlds by far, because it wasn't a Strange New Worlds episode. It was a Lower Decks episode that happened to take place in Strange New World timeline.
Absolutely.
So it was fantastic. If anyone doesn't think that they will like Lower Decks, but they saw this episode, go back and watch Lower Decks because it's an amazing show. Boimler being horrified, and Boimler and Mariner both being horrified by laughing Spock is fantastic commentary on the state of live action Star Trek. I was really hoping for a plot twist where number one was going to be Boimler's like ancestor, but I'll take the poster girl instead because that was a funny joke. Tawny Newsom is great.
It wasn't just a joke. They solved that problem that she doesn't have to worry now about being accepted in Starfleet because she knows in the future she's the literal post. So it was a hilarious joke.
I liked it.
But it had that like utter dude. That was a fucking amazing.
I liked it. I liked what they did for the Orions. I liked.
I love the Orion part. Now it's so much I'm jumping on the Orion bandwagon, I think, guys, and I might just become Orion for the rest of this episode.
I thought it's tradition that the old ship is part of the new ship was kind of stupid, but I'll go with it. I don't care.
That's awesome.
That sounds like a naval tradition, a real one, even if it's not. But I think it is a naval tradition, right? To include parts of old hulls or something.
I know.
Anyway.
I know car guys who do that. Like if they're
sure. Yeah.
So what's the difference?
No, it feels, even if that's the first time we've heard of that, it felt true.
How are you going to have
real.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's a little hand.
It doesn't matter. I liked
piece of pipe. That's all.
It doesn't matter. I agree with Dantron that they're doing too many time travel episodes. However, the last time travel episode had a purpose. Its purpose was to tell us that we're in a different reality now. And this time travel episode had a purpose, and purpose was to tell the audience that, yes, we also know it's weird that Spock is laughing. So I thought that was good.
It seems like one was to establish alternate reality. This one was to like rub it in.
Well, not just rub it in, but also point out to the audience that, like, yeah, we also know that this is weird.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't worry.
But that brings me to, though, is that a result of the time shenanigans, and that's what we're supposed to think? Like, this ain't your daddy's Mr. Spock? Like, the fact that he's so much different than the Spock that we know, this is, like, establishing that as like a...
I mean, I think he's already established as, you know...
Can I just say... Boimler and Mariner were in this show, man. Like that they are the audience stand-ins to end all audience stand-ins.
Yeah.
If you talk to the press, the actors are doing they're like fooling around with the buttons and shit because
they broke a bunch of stuff.
They don't get to do that on their show. So can you imagine how meta is for them that like Jack Quaid has to go, oh, wait, I have to do that stupid run that Boimler does. Like, you know, I got the Boimler yell. I can do that because I do that in the microphone. That's not.
I love that a lot of that stuff was improvised. Like saying Riker was improvised.
Yeah, I
love it. It was great. It was a great episode.
A lot of the jokes were good.
Lower Decks and less Strange New Worlds.
But that just happens because those guys know Star Trek, right?
It's true.
So then you get comedy guys that are used to riffing, and you get your ad libs, and that's fantastic. But they're all Star Trek appropriate. That episode was Star Trek from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
Boimler's hair was fucking purple. Your arguments are invalid.
I do like the fact that Pike was just like,
Who said
going with
that?
it. I don't care. I'm going with it.
That was
Yeah,
shade of me.
and
You know?
and we got a little bit of Pike traumatic backstory revealed too. We get the Pike has daddy issues moment.
Mariner's like pantomiming like the beeps. Love that.
I liked. Wait a minute. I wrote down a few things here. Oh, I liked a lot of the jokes. I know there were a couple of jokes I did not get. I loved when he's like the span of the room. When he's like that little subtle throwaway line where Boimler is like telling Mr. Spock and Pike's like, "Oh yeah, I'm right here, dude. I can hear you."
Yeah.
He's like the span of the room, just like alluding to how big the bridge is now.
Right.
I loved it. Like even like. That really got me. Oh, and when he talks about there was just an off-camera line about, I don't know about the ranks on the sleeves.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, oh my
he was
god,
critiquing their uniforms.
Yeah, I'm like, this is Larry and John. Like,
that's the great thing about Lower Decks is they have that style of humor is Lower Decks, right? So it's like, yeah, if you put me in Star Trek, I would make these jokes as well. I would make these references. I would make Khan references. I would talk about Kirk, but that's
like Dave Porter says, holy Q. And as soon as I read that, I was like, no, he had a little Trelane thing going on.
Yeah, that's right.
Because know that they've retconned Trelane as a Q.
Of course.
You have to, and like, what the grain was, right? I had to turn on the thing because I didn't understand the Orion actor, but it was tritriticale.
Yes, yes, not quadrotriticale.
Not quadrotriticale. Oh, by the way, I met David Gerald, which was hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I heard he's a real asshole.
No, he was very polite to us, but
Good.
I kept hoping it's like, I'm not the Larry Young that you friended and blocked 3 times in the last year.
Right.
Also,
he was cool to Walker.
Spock had some moments like when he's just like, when they start kind of fangirling and he's like, they're like, it's so exhausting. It's just exhausting to be around that kind of person. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I did like they talk so slow.
Right.
Anything that and then you guys saw in the season 4 Lower Decks thing, they have a clip where they're like, this is like that Pike thing we're not supposed to talk about.
Oh,
so they even reference it in the show back to this. So it's like the one thing I love about that is everyone can shut up about Lower Decks now. It is fucking canon. Boimler and Mariner met fucking Captain Pike and Spock. I saw it with my own fucking eyes. This isn't like an Exeter patch thing, John Cooley. That's the cartoon is fucking canon. So the Spock helmet with a fucking light on the top is fucking Star Trek canon.
I also love the implication. I just love the implication that Lower Decks is a cartoon because someone is drunk at all times. Right?
Mike McMahon, right?
You see the animated thing. And I just love that implication. Like, okay, that's perfect. Done. Game over.
I just like how they didn't, fucking Marvel scan it and didn't explain what happens. It's like, no, see that's Boimler, and then this guy out of there, that's Boimler too. And because he runs the same way and does the same shit, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And the nitpicks just go away. It's so funny. You get to go, nope. Have you seen Lower Decks? No, I can't talk to you. Anything you're saying is fucking wrong. So shut up.
The tricorder bit when he's
the tricorder.
He's like, oh yeah, and they made him less likely to explode. He's like, wait, what?
What?
The joke about we've got jetpacks. She's like, but smaller jetpacks.
That was good.
I enjoyed the greatest joke though was the one that had the most setup, which was Uhura's doing all that. There's the whole like she's got to translate the secret message thing, and then the secret message was this is a time portal.
This is a time portal.
That was a hilarious payoff. They spent a lot of time on that.
They did.
And then they just wrote it off. That made me love it.
I think probably my favorite joke is that it was serious, but it's like what Captain Pike does after when Mariner says, you got to excuse him. It's hard to take this guy seriously when he dressed up as you for Halloween. And Pike's like, oh, that's cool. What, me, really? And like all his reaction shots the whole time was just like, oh man, that is a guy with daddy issues because his vanity is getting shellacked by all this, shoe shining, and he loves it.
And when they talked about the NX-01 and the love of grapplers, see, that's where I was like, I know Larry, I know they're loving that. You guys are knowing exactly why that's. I got the spirit of it.
The NX-01, it doesn't have a tractor beam; it has grapplers, like things that shoot out from the ship and grab on,
physically grab
amazing.
things.
It's fantastic.
I love that Lon was the one that went, I love grapplers.
Yeah. I'm really, really, really glad they did not make any Lon jokes, however, because it would have been awful. It would have been really off-putting if Boimler was like, oh, like Khan, or something like that.
I was super expecting it. Like,
this is Lon movie saying, that sort of thing.
I was expecting exactly this episode. That's why I like it so much. I was like, 100%, no notes. Yeah. That all the people involved in Strange New Worlds already loved the Lower Decks. So, and then they reached out to McMahon, and he's like, "No, you got it. You know what we're doing. Just let Quaid and Tawny Newsome go nuts. That's all I do, right?" And then we all edited together. That was fucking fantastic.
It was great.
100%. I'm just mad I don't have one of those real shirts yet. I got to get real lower, real 3D lower deck.
About that. I got to get a new one with like a dark charcoal instead of
the best part though is those are all fan sets insignias. So we already have screen accurate insignias.
It's true. It's true. Good old fan sets.
Dan's like, what?
I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments here, guys.
I do like when Mabenga is the one who's all like John said, they explode, but then he gets all the like outrage jokes, punchlines, like in the cartoon. He's like, what's in these things? Anyway, my arm does not do this. Like Walker's done that 15 times to his mother since we've seen it.
I love it.
Yeah. I didn't understand that joke.
Why? It's just a cartoon. It's the kind of thing that can happen in a cartoon. Right, they're all drunken, two-dimensional.
They had fun on a Star Trek show.
Yeah. Oh, geez, that's the one everybody likes.
It's a weird.
I wonder if they learned that lesson.
It's all right. Next week is a big war episode, so I'm sure it'll go.
No kidding though. We got to give it to Frakes because that guy gets the comedy beats.
Yeah.
That movie. I mean, that show wasn't so effective just because everything was running fine. It's because the guy in the director's chair made sure everybody was.
This had Frakes.
Frakes directed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that bit of Frakes. Just sprinkle the Frakes on it.
Just warp factor 5, 6, 7, 8. Just do it.
He really is a talented,
he really is
comic guy. In that kind of the same way that like Jon Favreau, is that kind of guy where it's just like really can nail the solid comic beats, but then also like all the emotional beats and stuff are there too, and it makes it just like a candy.
Oh man, and we got to give it to Jess Bush too. She was crushing it. That scene with Boimler in the elevator. Don't break my heart right in front of me, guy I just met from the future. You can just see everything on her face. I'm like. Every once in a while, you see an actress that's just like nobody really appreciates what she's doing.
Yeah,
I don't know. True. It's because look at that cute girl from Australia, and it's like, no, dude, she's like really acting. That's insane.
Good call out here by Chris Sagasag that the cell shaded intro, which was like I think shot for shot of the regular intro, just with like with like flat cell shading on it. I like the look. It's my only gripe. I think this show looks gorgeous. I think the Enterprise looks so awesome. Those shots where they show like going into the shuttle bay in the back, they show the whole wide open shuttle bay. I thought that was like, they do really cool stuff with like showing into the interiors of the windows and the ships and stuff that like I haven't seen done that well before. The only thing I don't like is that texture on the ship. It's got this weird like overlapping square pattern, and I just wish it was like smooth and white like the old Enterprise.
I tried to show how much better it looked just with that smooth gray in the animated version versus like the metallic, like dark in the real life version.
I agree.
The person I was watching it with is a scientist, but she didn't appreciate art apparently. So
I like a smoother Enterprise. For
Mimi
sure.
did say that she was like, they should keep that cartoon intro because that was fantastic.
It was
it's
good.
actually better than the CG. But that's what bothers me about the Aztec panels is that they're too small and they're too dark.
Yeah.
Like when they did it in the motion picture with just different types of paint, it was very subtle and cool and you kind of got it. But it still read like it was a smooth technological thing that mankind had harnessed energy and we're going through.
You're not supposed to be looking at the Aztecing. It's just supposed to be an accent, right? And the ships now, this John Eves dystopia we live in, everything is like the whole point is like it's just a muddled mess of dark gray metallic bullshit.
Dude, it's greebling for the sake of greebling when they don't have any real purpose. And it's like a 2D greeble just meant to like add variety to the texture or whatever, but it just doesn't work for me. I just want to see like subtle lines where there's maybe hatches and stuff like that. That's okay, but otherwise nothing to complain about except the spaciousness of everything is crazy, but like it looks so good. The internals of this Enterprise really are like second only to original series.
You know, speaking of that, just we'll go back to that Uhura episode real quick when Kirk and Uhura are going down the stairs down the hallway after Ramon blows the power, and they have their phasers and they're kind of trying to see by the little light on their phaser, and they stop and they get to like this access corridor and they kick open the upside down IKEA silverware tray and reach in and get flashlights. I was like, that's just fantastic because that's what you would want. Like, because sometimes you're in space and you're gonna lose power and maybe life support. Maybe you need a flashlight and a little whiff of air every once in a while. I thought that was fantastic. It wasn't just, oh, look, here's some visual texture to give us interest as we walk down the hallway. It was like, oh no, it actually does something. And now I think there's something behind every panel, and it was just story driven for that. Yeah. So I was like, that was fantastic.
Yeah. What I really want to, what are those things, in the turbo lifts?
Oh, it's just the handle.
Yeah.
Because it's just a handle.
That's how you turn it on.
Yeah, it's the activation thing. You just
that's from the original series.
In the old days, you just grab that and spin your hand a little and go deck 7. And it was just like a dowel of wood, and the actor's hand just went around it. But it looked like something that did something.
But that's what I mean. I thought
the lights go, and
it was like a control or something back in the old days, and I haven't seen them touch it yet in the new series.
Now it's just hey, remember this? The railings are red. There's mirrored ceilings for some reason. I don't know. Everyone's having sex in the hallways, but not the lower decks guys who have to sleep in the hallways. Nobody's having sex in their bunks. There's no doors.
I'm so excited for the next season. So excited.
Of what? Lower Decks?
Lower Decks.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
I just binged that whole show last week, 2 weeks ago, and it's awesome.
Sweet.
That's it.
I think it's a testament to the original set designers. Are like, look, this thing looks pretty spacious. You know what I mean? Like,
they have. Didn't they have a thing about that? Oh no, I guess it was. I just watched Ready Room right before now, and Jack Quaid says that it looks bigger because we were smaller when we were watching on TV, so it's relative space and size, right?
Well, I just think they were master set designers too back then. Like they really built them. Like I think I've talked about it before, but like in the engineering deck and stuff, when I've tried to line up the perspectives and the angle, I go, oh, they're doing something really weird to force the perspective to make it look bigger, just in the way they construct certain elements of the set. Anyway, those guys were geniuses back then. That was the age to me where it was like look at how beautiful this is behind me. Like, if this was the set, if it just looked like as good as the original looked, I think it would still be pretty good.
I agree. Which is why Strange New Worlds is its own timeline.
And that's our official judgment on the whole thing. And that's
You know what's hilarious? I kind of have to go in about 5 minutes. Yeah, so about 10 till I have to split to take Walker to football practice. Yeah. But I was just like, wow, I looked at the clock and I was like, well, that was a good thing to go out on.
Counselor's log, final entry. The crews of both ships had much in common and many differences. Most notably,
Counselor Troy, Captain Picard requires you on base immediately.
Acknowledged.
I really need to shorten that clip.
That's awesome.
Acknowledged.
You know what? I'm gonna split on that. That was awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. You know what? I got to get out of here too. Actually, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday, Dan.
Staring me
Go
down.
get yourself an Orion slave girl. You know what I mean?
Okay, I will. Thanks. I'm who knows? Let's get a thumbs up, thumbs down from the audience. Should I stay Orion? Should I blue or green Dantron? I think that's the question of the week. Go on Facebook. If you want green, give it a thumbs up. If you want blue, give it a thumbs up also. But then like a comment at the bottom that says like blue in parentheses.
Happy birthday, Dan.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Dan.
Thanks everybody. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys. I don't know if there's any more shows this week. Probably not. I got real work to do. But we will be back, I think, next Tuesday, right? And we'll talk about Star Trek again. It'll be Tuesday. It'll be 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time. But Dr. John E. Price, PhD, where's that thing gonna be anyway?
The USS Kitty Hawk.
Huh?
What really happened here? Who was the cowboy who confronted Johnny and Larry that night? Was the old woman in on it too? Could Danny have been hallucinating? But if Dan was hallucinating, who ate house food? What about the mysterious behavior of the barbecue lid? Was it really the nanny? Does this story seem possible? Was the morgue attendant in on the deception too? Were there gases trapped within the milk bucket that caused the activity? How was the doctor able to send email without a computer? Was the sewing machine taken over by the spirit of Byron's grandmother? Could a plant really identify a murderer? Is it possible that a parrot could give a young girl the will to live? Was the sister's husband really the victim of amnesia? But then how do you explain the bullet hole in his phone? Is this story true? Can a fertilized octopus egg ingested into the human system actually grow inside the body? Do you believe this story?